Look, I'm a politician. Politicians always believe in solving their issues through dialogue. And ever since my government was displaced through a conspiracy, I have always been willing to hold dialogue. I held dialogue with General Bajwa. Twice I met him. We had teams talking to him. And then since then again, to the new army chief, I have offered dialogue again. But, dialogue means it has to be two ways. So far, there's no response from the current army chief. Well, the PDM or all these political parties, they are, without the military establishment, they are nothing. I mean, electorally, if there are elections, they will be wiped out. Out of the 37 by-elections, my party swept 30 elections, despite the establishment supporting them. So really, they are just puppets. The real power is the military establishment. I'm doing politics not for myself, for my country. Because, I'm the only politician who the Almighty Allah had given everything. I mean, I had no reason to be in politics. I did politics because I believed that, we have to have rule of law in Pakistan. Rule of law gives you freedom. It gives you prosperity. The reason why countries go ahead of other countries because they have justice and rule of law. So my idea is not to seek vengeance from anyone. My idea is what 27 years ago I started my politics, to establish rule of law in Pakistan and genuine democracy. Genuine democracy only comes with rule of law. It's not my party's crisis, it's a crisis of the country right now. In Pakistan right now, we have the law of the jungle now. There is no rule of law left. The judiciary has completely been undermined. The media has been completely muzzled. Media is completely controlled. My political party, which is the largest party in Pakistan, has been, the worst sort of victimization is taking place. 10,000 of my workers are in jail, my senior leadership in jail. There are about over 150 cases on me. So what is happening is that in trying to dismantle my party, actually the whole democracy in Pakistan is being dismantled, which is the real worry. Because if you destroy the democracy of a country, you basically destroy its future. Yes, the military establishment, which means the army chief. Well, what happened was that the way I was arrested from the High Court of Islamabad, the way and it was the army, the commandos, the way they came in and beat everyone and picked me up and treated me like a terrorist, there was a reaction to that. But it was all pre-planned. They used that reaction to actually dismantle the whole party. Because in 48 hours, how can 10,000 workers be immediately jailed? I mean, how can there be such a crackdown unless it was pre-planned? So the whole thing was pre-planned. The way I was picked up, police could have picked me up. Or they could have just taken me. I mean, I'm a 70-year-old man. You don't need a commando action to pick him up. So it was all planned. The reaction, there was going to be a reaction, and they used the reaction then to completely go after the party and dismantle the party. In fact, in 1933, Adolf Hitler did this. The German parliament in Berlin was burnt. He used that as an excuse to completely go after his rivals, which were the communists, and he destroyed them. My experience of international relationship, especially when I was in power for 3.5 years, the international establishment always, their interests come before human rights. So they will use human rights to blame China for what's happening in Hong Kong or what's happening to the Uyghurs in China. They will use it against Russians, but they do not use it against countries that they have interest with or they are allied to. So I feel that maybe they think that the government, the current government, is supporting them in Ukraine. Maybe that's why, and maybe when I wanted Pakistan to be neutral. I don't think Pakistan should be part of any conflict. So maybe that's why they're not saying anything about human rights. I have made no mistakes. I worked as a prime minister. I worked with the army chief. I navigated, my 3.5 years. It was the army chief who decided to stab me in the back. I never betrayed him. He betrayed me. He decided to have the current, who's the current prime minister. He decided he back him, and then he is the one who conspired to remove my government. I didn't do anything. Even after I was removed from power, I still tried to work with the army. Now, what I want is, in Pakistan, that you have to have free and fair elections, which will bring stability. Now, as far as I can understand what the army establishment wants, it wants a next government to be without me. So they don't want elections unless and until I am completely removed from the scene or my party is destroyed. This is what's happening. So I don't have a problem with the army. All I want in Pakistan is rule of law. The army chief seems to have a problem with me. So what Zahid Hussain says makes no sense. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. Look, let me explain to you. They talk about me being in a weaker position. Look, a political party is only in a weaker position when it loses its vote bank. If my voters abandon me, I'm in a weak position. Today, PTI, my party, is the largest party in Pakistan's history. And the more they have victimized my party, the bigger the vote bank has grown. Look at any survey in Pakistan. Look at any opinion polls. Out of the 37 by-elections, we won 30. So the public is standing with me, so I'm not weak. But the country is getting weaker. When you try and remove the biggest party in the country, and you use all the state apparatus, the state institutions, you use them to crush one party, actually you're destroying the country. So the party will stay strong as long as I have my vote bank, which is the biggest vote bank in our history. The country is going to suffer if this sort of victimization goes on and there's no rule of law, there's law of jungle, our institutions are getting weaker. When you destroy the institutions of a country, you actually destroy the country. Well, first of all, I want to find out what is the problem the army chief has with me. I need to know this because he clearly has decided that I'm someone who should not be in power. So I need to understand that. What are the issues? I mean, what does he want? Because simply by saying that the army has decided, or the army chief has decided that Imran Khan should not be the prime minister, it makes no sense. There has to be some reasoning behind it. So that's number one. We need to know. I need to understand that. And then whatever is good for Pakistan should be done. So if the army chief can convince me that by Imran Khan staying out of power is good for Pakistan, then maybe I will stay out of power. But I need to understand that, and only through a dialogue you can find that out. A party that has the biggest vote bank in the country, whenever there are elections, we will win. Inshallah, whenever the elections take place. So I'm confident about that. No matter what they do, no matter what the establishment and these government parties do, no matter how many of our seniors they put into jail, but the vote bank is in millions. So how can they put the voters in jail? So as long as the vote bank is intact, we will win inshallah, the next election. Now the point is, what about my isolation? Yes, I am isolated because all my senior leadership is either hiding or is in jail. And I have no doubt that they will sooner or later put me in jail too. I'm going to Islamabad tomorrow. I have 19 cases, bails in 19 cases. So all they have to do is cancel one case, bail in one case, and I'll go to jail. So I am even mentally prepared for jail. But that's not going to stop them from making my party lose the elections. We will win the elections, inshallah. All these cases are bogus. I mean, whenever I go to the court of law, they give me bail because there's nothing in the cases. And that's why now they have set up military courts. The idea is that, civil courts are not going to convict me. Now they've got military courts. And the military courts are set up because they want to put me in jail. Problem is, people in West do not understand us. They don't understand Islam. Ever since the revolution of Ayatollah Khomeini, the West looks upon Muslim societies as if we are divided amongst fundamentalists and amongst liberals. They don't understand us. They don't understand that all human societies are moderate. On the fringes are conservatives and liberals. Now they can't understand me because, they look upon me as a modern or Western man, and yet they think because I live my life according to the teachings of our holy prophet, peace be upon him. I live my life on the teachings of the Quran. So they can't understand this because for them, the modern liberal Muslim has nothing to do with religion. Because in the West, basically, hardly anyone is religious anymore. So, they don't understand our societies. And anyone who practices religion is considered a fundamentalist or, so it's just that since the revolution of Ayatollah Khomeini, they have a completely blinkered look upon Islamic societies or Muslim societies. So I am what I am. What am I? I consider myself a Muslim who lives his religion. And what are my principles in religion, for a Muslim country? Rule of law, democracy, meritocracy, welfare state, human rights, fundamental rights of women, of weaker sections of the society. But that's what my idea of Islam is. But unfortunately, the West has a very stereotyped idea of Muslims. Look, I don't care, if some foreign countries think that I should not be in power and I should sort of please them to get into power. I don't want that sort of power anyway. What I said is very clear. Pakistan suffered, 80,000 people died, and when we joined the US war on terror. Pakistan had nothing to do with 9/11. There was no reason why we should have joined someone else's conflict, because we have 100 million Pakistanis who are vulnerable, who are either below the poverty line or just above it. The chief responsibility of a country is to its people. So by joining that war on terror, not only did 80,000 Pakistanis die in that, but we had over $100 billion lost to the economy. So when I said absolutely not, what I meant was we don't want to become part of another conflict. We want to stay neutral. We should concentrate on the welfare of our own people. Whenever you join a conflict, your people suffer. Well, I mean, there's virtual martial law in Pakistan. All fundamental rights are being violated. There's custodial torture. There's no rule of law in the country because the Supreme Court verdicts are ignored by the government. And above all, I mean, our democracy is being dismantled. Yet, there's no response from the Western governments. And as I said before, they talk about these issues when they want to talk about Hong Kong or Uyghurs or human rights abuse in Russia. But there's complete silence in what's happening to us here. I don't want any help from Western governments. I don't want them to help me. All I want them to do is to stand by their own, the values which they which they stand by, about which they preach to the world, what I call the Western values. I want them to stand by them, and doesn't matter whether it is Russia, China, or Pakistan, or any other, or India. They should be consistent. They should stand by democracy and human rights, and anti-custodial torture and rule of law. They should be standing by that. No, what I'm saying is that I'm not talking about myself when I want the same Western governments that talk about these Western values. I'm not talking about myself. All I want them to do is that what my party, my workers are going through, my leadership is going through, the total absence of fundamental rights, everything violated by this fascist government. I want them to speak out against that. I don't want any help, because eventually Pakistan will sort out problems out itself. We don't want any outside help, but I want them to speak out against human rights abuse. I don't care, what people remember me as, but I will try my best for what is good for my country. And I started my movement, and I call it jihad, 27 years ago, because justice is in our religion the most important thing the Almighty Allah expects from us, is to have justice, to bring justice on this earth. So it is almost a sacred duty, and justice gives freedom to human beings, and that's why it is a sacred thing, because anyone who fights for his freedom is a martyr in Islam. We call them shaheed. So therefore, for me, it's a struggle. I will try my best. If Allah makes me succeed, great. If not, then I've tried my best. So that's how I look at it. Listen, I'm saying this in front of you. Nothing can stop us from winning, inshallah. Why? Because when a political party has the biggest vote bank in a country, you cannot defeat that. So they can try everything. They can try all these methods of putting up people in jail. But how many people can they put in jail? 10,000, 20,000. But Pakistan is a country of 250 million people. It's not going to make any difference, because if the party is the most popular party in the country, we will replace the people. The party ticket will win. And I can tell you right now, whenever there are elections, we are going to win. And this is the election year. So all what you're saying is that, fight to the end. I always fight to the last ball. I will fight to the last drop of my blood, because this is for my country. Unless Pakistan has rule of law, genuine freedom, which means democracy brings freedom, we have no future. So therefore, there's no question of me ever giving up. And especially when I know that whenever the elections, inshallah, we'll win.